Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, back in the studio. It's Thursday, and you were right on the money with the first player selected in the NBA draft last night.
Well, you have to go by what they've done on an international circuit, but what's interesting is this is the second consecutive year that a French teenager has been the number one pick. That says it all. You know what the first thought is, though, in watching this? There are an awful lot of tall people in this world.
You're one of them, buddy.
No, not like that. I remember when I was a kid growing up, if you were 6'7", 6'8", you were very, very tall. And if you were over and above that, you were pretty much clumsy and out of the ordinary. Not these guys. This kid who got drafted last night, Zachary Richelche, is 6'9", 19 years old, and a high scorer in the French pro leagues. But that says it all. And this was not, and this is the first round. There's another round this afternoon. This is not a great draft. There's good players, really good players. But will they be game breakers? Is there a headline player, somebody the whole nation congregates around? No, there's nobody like that. But we'll see. A lot of foreign players, a lot of kids coming in from Europe, and maybe some from South America. But we'll see what happens. It certainly is a selective process.
What's in the water over there in Europe? Why are we getting this crop of players? Is it becoming as popular as football in Europe?
I wouldn't say it's as popular as what they call football, we call soccer, because that's really the universal sport. But it is getting better. Now, it might be a little bit misleading to think that all of these European players are better than the Americans. That's not the case.
No, not at all.
There's a few of them who are. The Wembanyama kid who went last year, number one, 7'4", and the Rookie of the Year, he's the real deal. This kid, Richelche, will also be the real deal, too. But they have to get accustomed to American living, American training, because these guys are all thin and skinny, and our pros aren't. So, it's all a matter of how you evolve into what you've been drafted into.
Yeah, and how you react inside the professional league. You see Caitlin Clark going through that right now in the WNBA, which, exactly. I read an article yesterday, or maybe it was a comment about something. We were talking about the flu/food poisoning game with Jordan, and how now the WNBA is more felt like the NBA of when I was a kid, late 80s, early 90s. Was a lot more physical. You had guys. It was a way different game than basketball is now. WNBA is more along that line, and that's why you're seeing a lot of older guys that liked basketball when Jordan and Johnson and Bird were in it, because they're seeing that in the WNBA. What do you think about that?
Mike, when you take a look at it, you see a deterioration in a lot of the finesse that went into basketball. It's more a power game now, but it's the way the game has evolved. The leagues want it that way. The pros want a lot of scoring, but they also want a lot of physical contact, and they are getting that indeed. Fouls these days that aren't called, my goodness, you never would have gotten away with them back in the old days when you barely touched somebody and a whistle sounded. No, it's very, very physical now. And when you take a look at it in college, if you ever go to a college game, and you're right there, you could go watch the Bears play and all that. You can sit up in the upper levels in the nosebleed and watch them play and watch the diagrams and all that on the floor. But when you get down there on the floor and watch them play, you don't want to be around that. I mean, if you got in that, you take your life in your hands. Those
so you're
guys,
telling me Jack Nicholson was an idiot for sitting courtside all those years in L.A.?
He got used to it. But when you watch those behemoths, these are big people.
Yeah. And
they're not just tall, they're big. And it is a different game altogether.
All right, last question. When am I taking a nap this weekend? What golf outing is happening?
That's very good. This one might require a nap, too. This is the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and it's the purse here is only $9 million.
Only,
not a $20 million like the others have been. This is a $9 million purse at the Detroit Golf Club. It does have an allure to it to the pros, because you do get FedEx points here, and that's how you win the championship, with those FedEx points. But it's not one of the majors on the tour, but it is one of the events, and that's where the golf world will congregate in Detroit this weekend.
Cardinals split a doubleheader with the Braves. It's not too bad, though.
Had 2 games of the Braves, one brought about by a rainout from 2 nights ago. That was the first game. It didn't really make any difference which one it was. Braves won that game by a score of 6-2 and got on the Cardinals pretty good. They had the Gibson kids, Kyle Gibson from Missouri, got the start and got hit pretty hard. The second game is the one that kind of surprised me a little bit. Cardinals win at 4-1, and the Braves, who are an up-and-down team and very inconsistent, were... Well, they had Matt Liberatore out on the mound, and Liberatore has been hit pretty hard by some mediocre teams. Well, the Braves aren't really mediocre, but they aren't as good as they have been. And Liberatore stopped them. Anyway, 4-1, the Cardinals win the second game, so a split in St. Louis. The reason they had to play the doubleheader was because this is the only time Atlanta comes into St. Louis this year. So with the rainout involved, they had to make it one of those, I don't like them, day-night doubleheaders. But they did have that, and now the Cincinnati Reds are in to play the Cardinals this weekend, and a great chance for the Cardinals to get really well.
Yeah, and gain some ground in their division. What about the Royals? They're looking finally like themselves yesterday?
Well, they were behind 1-0 going into the 8th inning, and then the Royals exploded. Bobby Witt Jr. started it with a 2-out triple. It was brought home by a base hit to tie the game, and then the Royals went on to score 4 more runs against the Florida Marlins and win the game 5-1. That's a big win for Kansas City. They do get a victory over a club over whom they should be beating. The Marlins are not very good. They're capable of beating you, but they're inconsistent as hell, and it's really got to be disturbing to Skip Schumacher and to Jason Hart from Fairgrove, who is one of the hitting coaches with the Marlins. They just don't seem to get it together on a regular basis. They are very young, but the fact is they lost. Kansas City beats them 5-1, and now the Royals get set for further competition coming up this weekend.
Springfield Cardinals still at home. How'd they do on Woof Wednesday?
Finally got a win. Beat the Arkansas Travelers 4-1. Had lost to Arkansas the night before, but the Cardinals get a win. That puts the Springbirds now at 1-1 in the second half of the season. And 4 more games now to go, including tonight, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's an interesting game because they're giving away bobbleheads tomorrow night out there. Bobbleheads of former Bears coach Keith Gutton. Mm-hmm. That'll be a lot of fun. But over and above all that, the series will conclude on Sunday.
And then on Saturday, they've got the Ozzie Smith bobblehead giveaway. That's going to be a big line. I was kind of hoping
that maybe Ozzie might be down here for that, but he won't be.
He won't be. Unfortunate. Well, I know last but not least, if you like to take naps during NASCAR racing, when we'll be taking sleepy times this weekend?
It will be on Sunday afternoon, and that's when the NASCAR guys are in Nashville. This is a relatively new track, the Nashville Super Speedway. So the NASCAR folks have been there now for a couple of years. This is a big race, 400-mile event on Sunday afternoon, and that's when they run it in Nashville, Tennessee. And then they go and get set for what used to be called the Firecracker 400. They don't run it anymore. They go to Watkins Glen after that and have a big time on the road course up there. It's a really lengthy series of races that NASCAR has, but it does have a pretty doggone good clientele to it.
Ned, you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on Friday.